I was born here in Franklinton in 1948. Did all of my schooling here in Franklinton, elementary through high school, graduating in 1966 from Franklinton High School. Then went to Centenary College of Louisiana in Shreveport, got my undergraduate degree in 1970 in history. Took the LSAT, went to LSU Law School, spent 3 hard, difficult years there, and was able to graduate and pass the bar and come back here. The practice of law for me, in my family anyway, is a congenital defect. It's starting with my grandfather, McGee Ott, who grew up on a farm in Mount Hermon, Louisiana, read for the bar and was admitted to the bar in 1896 and practiced law here in Franklinton, here on the courthouse square where we are now, until his death in 1951. Prior to his death, my father, Franz Watts, Jr., who was born in Poplarville, raised in Bogalusa, and moved here to Franklinton after his marriage to my mother, practiced law with my grandfather prior to his death, and then continued the practice here on this same courthouse square until his death in February of 1971. By that time, my older brother, Franz Watts III, had come back to Franklinton and was practicing law with Daddy, and was practicing law with my father, or our father, until my father's death. And my brother continued the practice. And when I took the bar and passed the bar in 1973, I came home and joined my brother and Michael Cassidy at that time, practicing law at the law firm of Watts and Cassidy, and I've been here ever since. But before that, or in addition to that, my grandfather's first cousin was C. Ellis Ott, who also grew up on the farm in Mount Hermon. And C. Ellis Ott was one of the early judges of the 22nd Judicial District Court after its formation in 1898, and went on to be elected to the First Circuit Court of Appeal, where he served until his death in the 1950s. My grandfather Ott had a son, Thomas Ott, who became a lawyer and subsequently a judge in Hattiesburg, Mississippi. So it really is a congenital defect. My younger brother Charles was admitted to the bar in 1976, and Charles practiced law in Baton Rouge until his death, 2005. My brother Franz, Budge Watts, was elected judge in 1983 or 84 and served until his death in 1997. So it's just a long, continuous line of family members practicing law. I've done just about everything a lawyer in a small community can do, except make a lot of money. And I haven't been very good at that. Up until, say, 10 years ago, I had a very busy, demanding criminal practice, in addition to domestic practice, in addition to family law, successions, estate planning, represented a number of businesses over the years, businesses that were taken over by large multinational firms, done a lot of commercial work for banks, and more than my share of real estate, and personal injury and contract disputes. I've argued cases before the Louisiana State Supreme Court. I've argued cases before the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeal. I've never had a case to make it all the way to the Supreme Court of the United States. I regret that. But all that diversity has made for a very fulfilling and busy career. The very first case that I went to the Supreme Court with was a case of State versus Peters. It was very early in my career, and it was in the days before the indigent defender program, where if you happened to be in court at the wrong time, the judge pointed his finger and said, "Mr. Watts, you're going to represent this defendant." Well, this defendant was Mr. Peters. And he gave a supposedly inculpatory statement to the police. And I got a copy of the statement and didn't think it should be admissible under Miranda standards, and I filed a motion to suppress. The district attorney at that time came to court with my motion on the appropriate motion day, and the judge called the case. And the district attorney looked at me and said, "Well, Mr. Watts, it's your motion. Don't try to prove your case." And I said, "Your Honor, I don't think that's quite right. The state has the burden of proof to show that the inculpatory statement meets all the requirements of Miranda." And I was overruled. So it was also in the days of direct appeal to the Supreme Court. Didn't have to go through the Court of Appeal. So I appealed the case to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court agreed that the district attorney had the burden of proof in that case, and sent the case back. And we resolved it much to the benefit of Mr. Peters. It was a misdemeanor conviction for a DWI. And my client had previously pled guilty to reckless operation of a motor vehicle in the same incident. And on the institution of the prosecution for DWI, I raised the defense of double jeopardy. Of course, the trial judge overruled my objection, made me go to trial. I preserved my rights, and took a writ. The writ was granted. The plea of double jeopardy was found to be sound, and the DWI conviction was dismissed, and the prosecution was dismissed. And I hope that case has helped somebody along the way in the state get some sense of justice in similar situations. It was those two writs and appeals early in my career that established my bona fides with the court, and that after those decisions came down, the judges would at least listen to me seriously and take me seriously when I made a legal argument. And without that tenacity to just hold on to a problem and shake it and take the writ on it, take the appeal, I don't think that would have happened. It certainly wouldn't have happened as early as it did in my career. I enjoyed the criminal practice the most. It was the most challenging. It's certainly the most important thing that a lawyer can be dealing with, somebody's freedom rather than a dollar here, a dollar there, or who gets the car and who gets the truck. You're dealing with somebody's freedom. Professionally challenging, and the thrill of winning a criminal case, there's nothing like it in the law. I don't think there's anything like it in the law. But on the other hand, when you lose that criminal case, for a few weeks, it's just devastating. Up until a few years ago, my dear friend and I would go off on a fly fishing trip to the mountains every year, and that's just been one of the highlights of my life. Before her death, my wife and I would travel extensively, and we certainly enjoyed that. But as far as playing golf, having a boat, going fishing locally, I don't do that. I enjoy being at home, and I enjoy reading. I enjoy reading, and I enjoy collecting books. I have been active in my church, St. Matthew's Episcopal Church. I was a senior warden at St. Matthew's for a number of years, and participated in my church work on the diocesan level as in the Episcopal Diocese of Louisiana. I served as counsel to our local hospital, Riverside Medical Center, Washington Parish Hospital Service District Number 1, for a number of years. I resigned that position a number of years ago, but have since been appointed to the board of the hospital, and I currently serve as vice chairman of the board of the hospital, which I find has been very, very satisfying. I certainly have to include my father, although he passed away prior to my becoming a member of the bar. Through osmosis, hearing him talk and hearing him interact with other lawyers and just being around him, got a real handle on the theory of the practice of law. Then when I came back and started practicing, our district attorney at the time, W.W. Irwin, nicknamed Squinch, was a marvelous influence on me. Squinch taught me a lot. He appointed me as assistant district attorney here, and I served for 3 or 4 years during Mr. Irwin's last term before he retired. Squinch taught me the importance of truth, not try to make a case when the case wasn't there. 20 years from now, I hope there'll be somebody around that remembers me and will be able to say, he always told me the truth. He never tried to pull a fast one on me. always did the best he could absolutely do for his client. That's how I'd like to be remembered.